story of an old man who was fishing. And every time he caught a big fish, he threw it back into the water. And every time he caught a little fish, he threw it into his bag. And every time it just went on and on and on. Big fish, back in. Little fish, I'm keeping. A bystander was very perplexed at this unorthodox manner and said, "Can you please explain to me why you are throwing the big ones away?" And the fisherman didn't even hesitate. He said, "Listen, because I only have an 8-inch frying pan, and anything bigger than 8 inches doesn't fit into my frying pan." Well, let me just tell you something, TSC. We need a big frying pan here because we serve a big God here in this place. And we're not going to shrink down God to fit in our little minds and our little worlds. Because that's what's happening, is because we don't understand something, we go ahead and shrink God down. Instead of a people walking in faith and believing in faith, what we have done is we have chosen to take the little pan instead of believing in the big gods. Now, folks, that's why it's shocking to me that the new studies are now showing among American pastors that are preaching from small frying pan pulpits and small frying pan churches. And I'm sorry, listen, I know it's going to get dicey in here over these not just the next week, over the next 27 weeks, but just, you got to stay with me. Listen, there is a New Nation survey. Listen to this. This is what's shocking to me. 41% of senior pastors now hold to a biblical worldview. 41%. This is small frying pan people. 28% of associate pastors have a biblical worldview. 28%. And now it says, here's the shocker. 12% of children and youth pastors hold to a biblical worldview. Which Barna says it's now further evidence that now the culture is influencing the church more than the church influencing the culture. And I struggled whether to say this or not. And listen, I don't care anymore. I really don't. Listen, it just doesn't matter to me. I was listening to I really don't. I will not be mean. But I'm just going to say this because somebody has to say something. Listen, I know it's Super Bowl Sunday and all churches are preaching on super relationships and super duper people and you're super duper in your hell. Let me just tell you something. I'm done with all that. I'm sorry. We have to be in a place where, folks, we're in a battle. We're in a war. We need to hear what God has to say to us. Folks, no, listen, nothing against Philadelphia and Kansas City, but just listen, I don't care. I really don't. Here's what matters is we've got to win this battle. And I was listening to a Pentecostal preacher that has kind of gone sideways. His name is known, and listen what he said, and this is where it doesn't matter anymore. He has abandoned the building code because of the size of his frying pan, and this is what he said. He said he couldn't reconcile the sexual orientation of one of his family members. And because he couldn't reconcile that, and that their choice, which was against the word of God, that they would go to hell. And let me just tell you, when we get to the letter H, we are going to begin to deal with heaven and hell and eternity, because hell is a real place. I'm just letting you know. But I also believe that heaven is a real place today. And here's what happened. This Pentecostal preacher, 1,000 in his church, couldn't reconcile someone's choice and disobedience and them going to hell. So his answer to his dilemma, I heard it, is this: there is no hell, and therefore everybody goes to heaven. It's called universalism. Folks, I'm telling you, it's sabotage in this storm. It's a sabotage. And folks, that's why we're living in a time, it doesn't matter. I want a big frying pan. I believe in a big God. And listen, if I can't get it, it has to come from here every single time. The average time a youth pastor and a children's pastor stay at a church, it's the average, is now 17 months. 17 months. Why is there an attack against children's ministry and youth ministry? You know why? Because a person's worldview is built in those first 13 or 14 years. We have to pray for TSC kids. We have to pray for 212. Those that are watching, you have to pray for your children's ministry. Pray for youth pastors, because they are the ones, folks, these are key elements that we have got to get. I'll just give them to you, but you'll